Welcome to the Texas Secretary of State Elections Division.
Good afternoon, elections.
The Texas Secretary of State is authorized by statute to be the authority on election laws for the people and local election officials of Texas. He is also to provide uniform interpretation and application of these laws. Secretary of State staff attorneys are further authorized to provide voters the definition of residency when registering to vote. Joseph B. Culhavy is one of those attorneys. When District Judge P.K. Reiter came down with a recent ruling that trampled decades of Texas election law regarding residency requirements, by finding against those fighting for democratic elections and on behalf of politicians perpetrating patently undemocratic elections, all for the benefit of private interests, well, the Secretary of State's legal authority on voter residency, Attorney Joe Culhavy, summarized the entire legal proceedings as dirty judge, dirty developer, dirty everybody. Culhavy characterized the decision as a politically driven, intellectually bankrupt ruling that trampled decades of election case law in Texas. Yes, there's more to this story, and it gets more alarming the more details you hear. When you understand it all, you'll ask yourself, is this Texas or a banana republic? Stick with our short video to see how we're now all at risk of having representative government stripped even more from us Texans. Now, for more of the story. A road utility district, a RUD, was set up in Montgomery County, Texas in 1991 by the legislature. It was established at the request of the master developer of the Woodlands and has remained under their control ever since. The boundaries of this political district comprise the major roads. The RUD has its own elected board that controls its road building and tax levying authority. This board is elected by the voters residing in the RUD's legal boundaries. The 1992 election had only 3 voters. These 3 voters, residing on land owned by the developer, also approved bonds for $46 million. Well, the RUD's board didn't like so many taxpayers having the ability to vote on who sits on their board, so the board de-annexed the land on which the 3 voters lived. As a result, the RUD had no residential property and no voters, securing complete control of the board for the developer. Between 1993 and 2010, this elected board held only 1 election. 15 other elections were canceled because they were uncontested. They were uncontested because, by design, only a few select people knew about the district and its elections. In late 2009, conservative citizens discovered the district and their now $100 million of public debt. They inquired about the next board election in order to replace the puppet board members with people who would be accountable to the taxpayers. This led to detailed inquiries to the Elections Department at the Secretary of State's office and the local elections registrar regarding rules of residency and voter eligibility under Texas law. They were told that the definition of residence for the purpose of voter registration is well settled in Texas. Following guidance in a formal opinion letter from the Secretary of State regarding residency and from guidance provided by the Secretary of State's attorney Joe Culhavy, these citizens moved into a residence inn in the RUD shortly before the next election. Having properly registered, the 10 conservative citizens were certified by the county election registrar as eligible voters and voted in the May 2010 RUD board election. The result? They elected 3 new board members by a 10-2 vote. The 2 opposing votes were from millionaires Dirk and Kate Laukien, a husband and wife who had recently been given special permission to build a residence on their commercial property, located inside the RUD boundaries. Mr. Laukien also happens to own the building in which the RUD board privately met until 2010. Again, this is the governing board of a political body who is supposed to have their meetings in public like city councils. And in no small coincidence, Laukien also owns commercial property in the RUD whose property taxes have been abated by the very board that he and his wife previously elected. The sore losers who were ousted from the RUD board apparently decided to maintain their power the old-fashioned way, get a dirty judge to overthrow the will of the people. Within a few days, the sore losers filed a civil suit against the Rudd Board to compel them to overturn the election. In the June 2010 trial, Judge Reiter willingly obliged, overturning the election results and declaring the 10 citizens to be fraudulent voters. Predictably, the appellate court upheld the trial court. The attorney guiding the Rudd Board through these dirty proceedings is Michael Page of the Schwartz, Page, and Harding law firm of Houston. But don't take our word for it. Listen to excerpts of a conversation with attorney Joe Colhavy and his assessment of Judge Reiter's ruling with one of these citizens.
Welcome to the Texas Secretary of State Elections Division.
Good afternoon, elections.
I always wondered what the Secretary of State thought about the decision of the court in our thing, because he said that we'd obtained our voter registration fraudulently, which I just think was not true.
No, and that the decision was contrary to decades of court decisions about residency issues, and it was really an outlier. Basically, the way I read it was, developer is mad that their nose has been tweaked by some people who are protesting the profoundly undemocratic way that property taxes are imposed in Texas. And their embarrassment is such, and the fact that money is involved is such, that they call up their best buddy, somebody who has close political ties to them, and say, hey, Judge, we need you to make an example of these people.
I really believe that myself, actually.
Yeah, so utterly politically motivated, intellectually bankrupt decision that couldn't be reconciled with the way we generally view residents. I mean, that's what made one of the kind of snotty arrogance of the decision that bothered me so much. No, you're not the right sort of person. We only wanted this election to be the right sort of person election. You haven't been vetted and approved by the person who stands to win the most money out of this.
Yeah.
And thought, dirty judge, dirty developer, dirty everybody.
Yeah.
If you're that scared, if you create such a powerful incentive to run a dirty election, then you should ask, why are you developing that land that way in the first place?
Sound troubling? This barely scratches the surface of this scandal. It gets worse, much worse. The long knives are just beginning to come out. We're going to let you know more about this shortly, as well as provide our contact information. But first, some people need to be held accountable. And except for the ballot box, it is a hard task to hold judges accountable. But we can do so with the Rudd attorney, Michael Page. Contact Page by email or by phone and ask him the following questions.